The quantum communication array hummed softly in the depths of Earth's Strategic Defense Command. Admiral Kim Woo-jin had seen many strange things in his 30 years of military service, but nothing quite like the alien face that flickered too. Life on the massive holographic display before him. The being was tall and graceful, a skin that seemed to shimmer like starlight. Its large, dark eyes held an expression that Kim had learned to recognize in his years of command, desperation barely held in check by pride. "Humans of Earth," the alien spoke, its voice carrying musical tones that seemed impossible for any throat to produce. "I am High Counselor Vithara of the Galactic Council. We require your assistance." "Captain Park!" Soyoung shifted uncomfortably beside the Admiral. In the 3 years since humanity had first achieved faster-than-light travel, their interactions with the galactic community had been limited and often unpleasant. Most alien species viewed humans as barely civilized newcomers, too violent and unpredictable to be trusted with real responsibility. The hologram continued. And Kim noticed how the alien's elegant composure seemed to crack slightly with each word. "An extragalactic threat has entered our space. They call themselves the Devourers, and they consume everything in their path. Entire worlds, entire civilizations, all reduced to raw materials for their endless hunger." "Lieutenant Commander." Lee Minho leaned forward from his position at the tactical station. The data streaming alongside the alien's message was horrifying. 17 star systems completely stripped bare in just 6 months. Billions of lives lost. Fleets that had protected the galaxy for thousands of years reduced to floating debris. "Our defensive forces have proven inadequate," Vethera admitted, the words clearly painful to speak. "The Council has spent weeks debating alternatives, but we have been forced to conclude that we need assistance from species with more primitive military instincts." Captain Park's jaw tightened. Even when asking for help, they couldn't resist. The insults. The alien's image flickered as the transmission quality wavered across the vast distances of space. "We understand that humans have certain aggressive tendencies that our peoples have evolved beyond. We also understand that you are capable of tactics and strategies that we find morally challenging. In these desperate times, such capabilities may be necessary." Admiral Kim studied the tactical data more closely. The Devourer ships moved in perfect formations. Their weapons were devastatingly efficient, and they never retreated or showed mercy. They fought like machines, which according to the intelligence reports they essentially were. "We offer substantial compensation," Vithara continued. "Advanced technology that could accelerate your civilization by centuries. Territorial rights to uninhabited systems. Trading partnerships that would make Earth wealthy beyond imagination. All we ask in return is your military support against this threat." Commander Choi Do-yoon looked up from her tablet, where she had been reviewing Earth's available forces. Her expression was grim. "Sir," she whispered to the Admiral, "we have maybe 300 ships that could handle deep space combat against something that's been tearing through civilizations that have had starships for millennia." Kim nodded slightly but kept his attention on the alien. He had fought in enough wars to recognize the sound of genuine fear in someone's voice. Regardless of what species they belonged to, the holographic display shifted to show images of the destruction. Planets stripped down to their cores. Space stations torn apart and consumed. Refugee fleets fleeing in panic while massive mechanical constructs followed behind like sharks following blood in the water. "The Devourers do not negotiate," Vithara explained. "They do not show mercy. They simply consume and move on. Our scientists estimate that at their current rate of expansion, they will reach the core worlds of the galaxy within 2 years. After that, the alien didn't need to finish. After that, galactic civilization would cease to exist. We have studied your species' military history," the alien continued, and Kim noticed a slight tremor in its voice. "Your wars are brutal and chaotic in ways that our peoples find disturbing, but perhaps such brutality is what we need now. Perhaps the very qualities that make us uncomfortable about humans are the qualities that can save us all." Kim felt the weight of the decision settling on his shoulders. Earth was still recovering from its own internal conflicts. The United Global Government was barely 5 years old, And many people still questioned whether humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. But looking at the images of destruction, at the fear in the aliens' eyes, Kim knew there was really only one choice. "Send a message back," he told his communications officer. "Tell the Galactic Council that Earth accepts their request for military assistance." The room fell silent, except for the quiet hum of machinery. Outside the station's viewport, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, peaceful and beautiful. Its people had no idea that their leaders had just committed them to a war that could determine the fate of the entire galaxy. Captain Park moved closer to the Admiral. "Sir, are we really going to do this? Fight a war for people who barely consider us civilized?" Kim looked at the tactical data one more time, then at the faces of his officers. "Yes, Captain. Because sometimes doing the right thing isn't about whether people respect you. Sometimes it's just about doing what needs to be done." Transmission ended, leaving them alone with the magnitude of what they had just undertaken. The shipyards above Luna had never been so busy. Captain Yoonja Hook watched from the bridge of his newly built ship as thousands of workers crawled over the hull like ants, welding armor plates and installing weapons that made the alien observers shake their heads in disapproval. His ship, the Soul's Fury, looked nothing like the elegant vessels the Galactic Council preferred. Where their ships were smooth and graceful, human warships were thick blocks of metal and guns. The Soul's Fury bristled with weapon ports, had armor thick enough to walk on, and carried enough firepower to level a small city.
"Captain, Lieutenant."
Park Ji-ho called from his station. "The council advisors want another meeting about our weapon designs." Captain Han Yujin, working at the engineering console nearby, let out a tired sigh. "Let me guess. They think our plasma cannons are too destructive again?" The Galactic Council had sent technical advisors to help humanity prepare for war. But the relationship was not going smoothly. The aliens were horrified by human military thinking. They built their ships to be efficient and clean. Humans built, theirs to survive and kill. "Sir," Communications Officer Im Soo-jin reported, "Admiral Kim is calling all ship captains." The Admiral's tired face appeared on the main screen. Dark circles under his eyes showed he had been working without sleep for days. Behind him, staff officers hurried back and forth with reports and data tablets. "Captains," Admiral Kim began, "I have bad news. Intelligence reports show the Devourers have speeded up their attacks. They will reach the Altarian system within 1 week." Captain Yoon felt his stomach drop. Altaria was home to 12 billion people, men, women, and children who would die horribly if the Devourers reached them. "How long until our fleet is ready?" Captain Yoon asked. 72 hours for the main battle group. "I know it's not enough time, but it will have to be." Captain Han raised her hand. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" Kim nodded. "The Council species have been fighting this war like it's some kind of game. They worry about minimal losses and keeping their ships pretty. But this isn't a game, it's survival. When we get out there, we need to fight like humans. Fight to win, no matter what it costs." Admiral Kim was quiet for a moment, considering her words. Around him, his staff continued their frantic work. "Preparing for humanity's first real test in galactic warfare." "Proved, Captain," Kim finally said. "All ships, prepare for immediate departure. And remember, the entire galaxy is watching us. Show them what humans do when we're pushed into a corner." As the transmission ended, Captain Yoon looked out at the growing fleet around Luna. 300 ships against an enemy that had destroyed entire star systems. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. Down in the shipyard, Chief Engineer Ko Dong-min was having his own problems with the alien advisors. The tall, silver-skinned being standing next to him gestured at the weapon systems with obvious distaste. "These projectile weapons are so primitive," the alien said through its translator device. "Our energy weapons are far more efficient and precise." Wiped grease from his hands and looked at the alien patiently. "Your energy weapons are very nice. It's very clean. But when a devourer ship is trying to eat your home planet, you don't want clean. You want something that will blow it into tiny pieces." The alien's large eyes blinked in confusion. "But the destruction is so... excessive. Surely there are more." Civilized ways to disable enemy vessels? Ko pointed to a massive railgun being installed on the ship's main deck. That gun can punch a hole through 3 meters of solid steel. The Devourers use armor that your energy weapons barely scratch. Sometimes excessive is exactly what you need. In another part of the shipyard, Captain Nam Ji-woo was reviewing tactical plans with her officers. Her ship, the Daegu's Hammer, was designed as a close combat vessel, built to get in close and deliver devastating firepower at short range. The Council's battle plans call for long-range engagement. Lieutenant Shin Ha-seok pointed out, studying the data on his tablet. They want to stay far away and use their advanced sensors and energy weapons. Captain Nam shook her head. Devourers adapt to energy weapons within minutes. Council has been fighting them for months and barely scratched them. Need to get close, hit hard, and move fast before they can figure out how to counter us. Her tactical officer looked nervous. Ma'am, close range means we'll take heavy casualties. Better heavy casualties than total defeat, Nam replied grimly. The galaxy chose us because we're willing to fight wars they can't stomach. That means accepting losses they wouldn't accept. Above them all, Admiral Kim stood in his command center watching the final preparations. Reports flowed in from across the solar system as humanity's war machine prepared for its greatest test. Weapons were loaded, ships were fueled, and crews said goodbye to their families. The alien observers watched with a mixture of fascination and horror, as humans prepared for war with an intensity they had never seen, where Council species fought. To minimize risk, humans seemed to embrace it. Where other species planned for elegant victory, humans planned for brutal survival. They're so violent, one alien observer whispered to another. Yes, came the reply. That's exactly what we need them to be. As the 72nd hour approached, the human fleet began moving toward the jump points that would take them to their first battle. Behind them, Earth continued its peaceful rotation. Unaware that its children were about to fight for the survival of galactic civilization, the war was about to begin. The Altarian system was dying when the human fleet arrived. Captain Park So-young stood on the bridge of the Bison's Revenge and watched in horror as massive machines, each one the size of a mountain, slowly tore apart the fourth planet. Stripped away the atmosphere first, then the oceans, then began eating the rock itself, leaving nothing but empty space where a world had been. Devour fleet analysis complete, reported Tactical Officer Kim Tae-yang, his voice tight with controlled fear. 400 enemy ships detected, various sizes. The Council fleet is retreating to safe distance. On the main communication channel, Council Admiral Zethric's voice crackled with barely hidden panic. Human fleet, you must stay back. The Devourers learn to counter our weapons within minutes. Standard battle procedures require maintaining at least 50,000 kilometers distance until we can analyze their current adaptations. Captain Park looked at the retreating Council ships, their elegant hulls gleaming as they fled to safety. Then she looked at the planet below, where billions of people had lived just days ago. Now, there was nothing left but dust and metal. Negative Council fleet, she said into her communicator. We didn't travel halfway across the galaxy to watch from a safe distance. All human ships attack Formation Delta. Target the largest constructs first. Lieutenant Commander Chen Minji looked up from her navigation station, concern clear on her face. Ma'am, the Council ships are signaling us to fall back. They're saying we don't understand how dangerous this is. Captain Park felt anger rising in her chest. These aliens had called for help and wanted the humans to fight their war using the same failed tactics that had been losing for months. Let them retreat if they want, she replied coldly. Helm, full speed ahead. All weapons, prepare to fire. Let's show these machines what human stubbornness looks like. The Bison's Revenge led the charge directly into the Devourer swarm, followed by the rest of the human fleet. The massive enemy constructs turned to face them, their surfaces rippling as weapon systems came online. Behind them, Council ships watched in amazement and horror as the primitive Earth vessels opened fire at ranges they considered suicidal. Human plasma cannons and nuclear missiles streaked across space, seeking targets among the mechanical enemies. The first exchange was terrible. The Devourer weapons were like nothing humans had ever seen. Beams of energy that could tear apart matter at the atomic level, slice through space. 3 human ships died in the first 30 seconds, their hulls simply coming apart as if they were made of paper, but the humans kept coming. Their weapons, crude and brutal compared to Council technology, found gaps in Devourer defenses that the elegant energy weapons had never been able to exploit. Direct hit on Construct 7, shouted Lieutenant Shin Ho-seok from the weapons station. Its hull is cracking. Wait, the whole thing is breaking apart. Across the bridge, officers cheered as they watched the first Devourer vessel ever destroyed. By military action, break into pieces and drift dead in space. The mechanical swarm seemed to pause as if the collective intelligence controlling them was trying to process this unexpected development, Captain. Park opened the fleet communication channel. All ships, focus fire on damaged targets. These things can adapt to our weapons, but they need time to do it. Don't give them that time. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships darted between the massive Devourer constructs like angry wasps, firing everything they had before racing away to reload. When their weapons ran out, some captains rammed their ships directly into enemy hulls, sacrificing themselves to create openings for other human vessels. The Council fleet watched from their safe distance, as the humans fought with a savagery that shocked them. When human ships were damaged, they didn't retreat. They kept fighting until their hulls cracked open and their crews died at their stations. Captain Lee Suchin's ship, the Gwangju's Pride, lost its main engines and half its weapons in the 3rd hour of battle. Instead of withdrawing, she ordered her remaining crew to jury-rig the ship's nuclear reactor into a bomb and flew directly at a Devourer mothership. This is Captain Lee. Her voice came across the fleet channel as her ship closed the distance. Tell my family I died fighting for something that mattered. The explosion could be seen from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, both the Gwangju's Pride and the massive Devourer mothership were gone. When the battle finally ended, 47 human ships were destroyed or badly damaged, but 17 Devourer constructs lay dead in space, and the rest had withdrawn to regroup, the first tactical retreat anyone had ever seen them make, as rescue crews worked frantically to save survivors from the damaged ships. Admiral Kim's voice came across the communication array from Earth. "Well done, fleet," he said, his voice heavy with pride and grief. "You've just taught the galaxy something new about the Devourers." Captain Park, standing among the wreckage of her bridge with bandages on her arm and exhaustion in her eyes, keyed her communicator. "What's that, sir?" "They can bleed," Kim replied. "And if they can bleed, they can die." In the distance, the Council ships slowly approached the battlefield, their crews staring in amazement at the destruction. For the first time in months, they had hope. The war had truly begun. 6 months into the war, everything had changed. Commander Bae Sung-ho stood in the briefing room aboard the Inchin's Wrath, staring at holographic displays that showed Devourer movements across 20 different star systems. The patterns were becoming clearer, and what they revealed was both encouraging and terrifying. "They're learning from us," reported Intelligence Officer Won Hai-jin, pointing to data streams that flowed across the air like glowing rivers. "Each time we fight them, they adapt faster to our weapons and tactics. But look at this pattern here." She highlighted a series of battles from the past month. They're also becoming predictable. The Devourers optimize everything for maximum efficiency. When they meet resistance, they calculate the most resource-effective response. But humans don't fight efficiently, we fight chaotically. It's breaking their pattern recognition systems. Captain Nam Ji-woo leaned forward in her chair, studying the data with tired eyes. Like everyone in the fleet, she had been fighting almost non-stop for months. "So our unpredictability is an advantage?" "More than that," one replied. "Their artificial intelligence is designed to learn from logical opponents, but human tactics often aren't logical. We make decisions based on emotion, instinct, and pure stubbornness. Their computers can't predict what we'll do next because sometimes we don't know ourselves." The briefing room door slid open as Admiral Kim entered, followed by Captain Lee Sujin. Lee had become something of a legend after she successfully rammed her damaged ship into a Devourer mothership and somehow survived. Her left arm was still in a medical brace. but her eyes held the same fierce determination that had made her famous throughout the fleet. Captain's Admiral Kim began, his voice carrying the weight of command and terrible knowledge. We've received new intelligence from our deep reconnaissance teams. The Devourers have a central command node located in the Kepler 442 system. Our analysts believe that if we can destroy it, their entire network will collapse. Commander Bay felt his stomach tighten. Sir, our scouts report that system is heavily fortified. The Council estimates at least 1,000 Devourer vessels protecting it. The Council, Captain Lee said with bitter humor, has been making estimates for months while we've been making corpses. I've studied their fortress system personally. It does have one weakness, which is non-masked. They assume they're enemies. Value their own lives more than victory. Lee activated a tactical display showing the Kepler 442 system. At its center, a massive crystalline structure orbited close to the star, pulsing with malevolent energy. The command node is protected by a stellar manipulation device. If the node is threatened, it can trigger the star to go supernova, destroying everything within several light years. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Captain Nam was the first to speak, a deterrent. They assumed no one would be crazy enough to attack, knowing they'd die in the process. Admiral Kim nodded slowly. The Council evacuated all inhabited systems within the blast radius months ago. There are no civilian populations that would be harmed. Sir, Commander Bay said carefully, are we seriously considering a suicide mission? Not suicide, Captain Lee corrected, her voice calm and steady. Victory. We've lost too many good people to stop now just because the final battle might kill us. The galaxy needs to know that when humans make a promise, we keep it. Keeping that promise costs us everything. Around the table, the other officers exchanged glances. They had all seen friends die in the past months. They had all watched human ships sacrifice themselves to protect alien worlds that barely acknowledged their existence. The idea of one final, decisive battle held a strange appeal. Admiral Kim looked around the room at the faces of his commanders, tired, battle-scarred but unbroken. I won't order anyone to volunteer for this mission. But I will ask. We need ships and crews willing to fight knowing they won't come home. Without hesitation, every hand in the room rose. Within hours, word spread throughout the fleet. Ships that had been scheduled for repairs volunteered to fight with damaged hulls and jury-rigged weapons. Crews that had been rotated back to Earth for rest requested immediate return to duty. The volunteer fleet began assembling with a speed that amazed even the humans themselves. Captain Park So-young, now commanding the rebuilt Bison's Revenge, found herself working alongside officers she had barely known before the war. The shared experience of facing death repeatedly had forged bonds stronger than family. Ma'am, her new tactical officer reported. We have 317 ships volunteering for the final assault. That's actually more than our original fleet size. Keen Park smiled grimly. The Devourers made one mistake. Losing battles would make humans give up. Instead, it just made us angry. In his private quarters, Admiral Kim composed a message to Earth. He wrote about the courage of his crews, about the alien civilizations they had saved, and about the final battle to come. He sealed the message to be sent after the fleet's departure. As the volunteer fleet prepared to jump to Kepler 442, Captain Lee stood on her bridge and looked out at the other ships. Each one carried people who had volunteered to die for beings they had never met, for worlds they would never see. Helm, she said quietly, set course for Kepler 442. All ships prepare for our final jump. The fleet vanished into hyperspace, carrying humanity's last hope toward a battle that would echo through galactic history forever. The Battle of Kepler 442 began at dawn, ship time, and lasted 18 hours that changed the galaxy forever. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of his flagship Soul's Pride as the largest space battle in galactic history unfolded around him. Through the viewports, he could see the combined human and council fleets engaging the most massive Devourer force ever assembled. The enemy had turned the entire star system into a fortress, with mechanical constructs orbiting every planet and moon. Enemy command node is heavily protected, reported Captain Ominsuk from her tactical station. We need to break through at least 40 defensive layers before we can reach it. Council fleets are taking heavy damage on the outer rim. added Lieutenant Colonel Park Junho, his voice tight with concern. Admiral Zethrix is requesting immediate support for his wounded ships. Kim studied the three-dimensional battle display floating before him. The plan was working, but barely. Human ships formed the spearhead of the attack, their brutal weapons and reckless tactics carving through Devourer defenses, while the more cautious, Council vessels provided covering fire and rescued crews from damaged human ships. It was a partnership that would have been impossible a year ago. Around them, the battle raged with an intensity that defied description. Human ships dove between massive Devourer constructs, firing everything they had before. Racing away to reload? When their weapons ran empty, captains used their ships as battering rams, smashing through enemy formations to create openings for the ships behind them.
Oh, sir.
Communications Officer Yang Sora called urgently. Captain Lee is reporting successful penetration of the inner defense grid. She's requesting final authorization for the assault on the command node. Kim closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of all the friends and comrades he was about to lose. Captain Lee's volunteer squadron had started with 50 ships. Now, after fighting through the defensive layers, only 17 remain functional. Granted, he said quietly. Tell her that humanity is proud of them all. On the tactical display, the remaining volunteer ships punched through the final defensive barrier. Ahead of them lay the Devourer command node, a crystalline structure the size of a small moon that pulsed with malevolent intelligence. It was beautiful and terrible, like a jewel made of nightmares. All ships, Captain Lee's voice came across the communication channel, as calm as if she were ordering breakfast. Arm all nuclear warheads, full spread, maximum yield. Set proximity fuses for simultaneous detonation. It has been an honor serving with you all. Volunteer ships accelerated toward the command node, their engines burning at maximum power. Devourer defenders swarmed around them like angry insects, tearing the human vessels apart piece by piece. But the humans kept coming, their ships disintegrating around them as they closed the final distance. When the explosions came, they were visible from 3 star systems away. 17 nuclear warheads, each one powerful enough to destroy a city, detonated simultaneously against the command node's crystalline surface. The structure held for a moment, its alien materials resisting the titanic forces unleashed against it. Then it cracked. The failure cascade spread through the crystal matrix in seconds. The command node shattered like glass, its fragments spinning away into space. The moment of its destruction, something extraordinary happened across the galaxy. Every Devourer construct suddenly stopped moving. The mechanical swarm that had terrorized galactic civilization for over a year went completely silent. Ships that had been fighting moments before simply drifted in space, their weapons powered down, their intelligence gone. The war was over. 3 months later, Admiral Kim stood in the Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, facing representatives of 47 different species. The massive chamber, built to accommodate beings of wildly different sizes and environmental needs, fell silent as he entered. Then, one by one, every representative stood a gesture of respect reserved for the greatest heroes in galactic history. High Counselor Vithera, the same being who had first contacted Earth with a desperate plea for help, stepped forward. Her elegant features showed an emotion that humans had taught the galaxy to understand: grief for the fallen mixed with gratitude for the living. Admiral Kim, she began, her musical voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. The Galactic Council wishes to offer humanity full membership in our governing body, with voting rights, territorial concessions, and access to our most advanced technologies. We also propose the establishment of joint colonies, and Kim raised his hand politely but firmly, cutting off the lengthy formal offer. With respect, Counselor, we appreciate the gesture, but humanity isn't interested in ruling the galaxy. The chamber fell completely silent. Several alien representatives looked confused, as if they couldn't understand why anyone would refuse such an offer. We fought because it was the right thing, To do, Kim continued, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast hall. We lost good people because someone had to make that sacrifice. The galaxy is safe now, but safety is never permanent. There will be other threats, other times when someone needs to stand guard, while others sleep peacefully. He looked around. The chamber had faces that had learned to see humans not as primitive barbarians, but as the guardians they never knew they needed. Earth accepts a position on the Defense Council. Our ships will patrol the dangerous regions of space. Our people will help train your security forces. And if something like the Devourers ever comes again, we'll be ready to fight. As Kim left the chamber, Captain Park Soyoung joined him in the corridor. Think they finally understand who we are, sir? Kim looked through the station's windows. At the human fleet in orbit, battle-scarred ships that had earned the respect of an entire galaxy through blood and sacrifice. They understand we're the ones who fight the wars they can't fight, he replied. That's enough.
At
Space, human warships, took up their eternal patrol, watching the darkness for threats yet to come.